On all my videos, I give away an Amazon gift card. To find out how to win, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Momo Ayase's first boyfriend demands money and insults her when she refuses, leading to an argument where Momo attempts to kick him but ends up hurt and mocked. Frustrated, she vents to her friends, who criticize her for dating someone they warned her against. Embarrassed, Momo admits she liked him because he resembled Ken Takakura, but her friends mock her, saying men like that no longer exist. Discouraged, she laments her bad luck in love. Later, she interrupts bullies, bothering a nerd, Open, by taking his magazine. After discovering it's about aliens, she mocks him and leaves. Okarun follows, assuming her interest in aliens sparked the interaction. Momo denies it, but he launches into conspiracy theories, insisting UFOs are real. His persistence irritates Momo, who snaps, calling him pathetic and blaming his beliefs for his lack of friends. Momo apologizes to Okarun, admitting she believes in ghosts but not aliens. Okarun teases her, claiming ghosts don't exist, leading Momo to defend her grandmother's medium abilities and the exorcisms she witnessed. Okarun counters with scientific explanations, and their argument escalates, until Momo's friends tease her for hanging out with a nerd. Frustrated, they make a bet. If Okarun proves aliens exist, Momo will serve him, and if Momo proves ghosts exist, Okarun will serve her. They head to their respective locations, Momo to a UFO hotspot, and Okarun to a haunted site. As they explore, they share personal stories. Momo reveals a protective gesture her grandmother taught her, which she practiced despite mockery at school. Okarun, hesitant to explain his belief in aliens, encounters bloody footprints and a terrifying old woman, Grandma Turbo, who threatens him. Despite Momo's warning about the curse tied to overtaking her, Okarun is caught. Momo, realizing something is wrong, heads to find him. Meanwhile, the lights in the hospital go out and three strange figures appear, signaling more trouble ahead. Momo is abducted by serpent-like aliens from Serpo, who plan to use her for reproduction due to their reliance on cloning. They try to control her with psychokinesis, but a call on her phone interrupts the process, allowing Okarun and Turbo Granny to emerge and attack. Despite their efforts, the aliens briefly regain control, but Momo channels her grandmother's teachings to break free and expel them. After freeing Okarun from Turbo Granny's possession, the curse remains as she takes his cucumber, daring them to retrieve it from a tunnel. As the serpent ship crashes, Momo admits she now believes in aliens, while Okarun concedes that ghosts are real. Determined to confront Turbo Granny, the two decide to face the challenge together. Okarun's revelation of his name Takakura-ken leaves Momo unexpectedly flustered. Momo is shocked by Okarun's claim that his name is Takakura-ken, but eventually accepts it. To simplify things, she nicknames him Okarun, referencing his occult fascination. As dawn breaks, she invites him to her shrine, warning him about her strict grandmother. When Okarun tries to enter, an energy barrier almost sets him on fire. Momo deactivates the talisman, causing it, allowing him to enter safely. Inside, Momo discovers her grandmother isn't home. While she changes, Okarun, under Turbo Granny's curse, accidentally walks in and discovers his cucumber is missing. Embarrassed, he blames Momo, but she reminds him he started the alien discussion. Okarun admits he wanted to make a friend, but felt out of place. Momo reassures him, urging him not to push people away. Their conversation is interrupted by a strange doorbell. Realizing the shrine's talisman was removed, Momo tries to restore it, but a black mist traps them. A shadowy figure accuses them of breaking a promise and attacks. Okarun identifies it as the Flatwoods monster, speculating a link between ghosts and aliens. As the mist weakens them, Momo struggles to control her psychic powers while managing Okarun's curse. Okarun insists she release the curse, despite the risks, to face the monster. Reluctantly, Momo agrees, unleashing immense power in Okarun, though he begins to exhibit melancholy side effects. Together, they fight the spirit, aiming to exploit its sumo-like behavior by making it touch the ground. Their teamwork damages the spirit, but not enough to end the battle. The spirit intensifies its attacks, pinning Momo against the wall. Okarun urges her to release the curse fully, but Momo focuses on strategically placing the talisman. Her plan works, burning the spirit and restoring the shrine to normal. Relieved, they embrace, but Okarun begins losing control again. Momo jokes about her disheveled hair before fainting from exhaustion. With her unconscious, Turbo Granny's curse overtakes Okarun once more, leaving them in peril yet again. Dodoria, a renowned psychic, interrogates a young idol on a talk show with inappropriate questions. After the recording, she has a tense exchange with her cab driver, dismissing him after he asks about her powers. While walking, she encounters Granny Turbo attacking Momo. Dodoria intervenes, using her psychic abilities to trap Granny Turbo in a protective circle. Despite the spirit's threats, Dodoria strikes her repeatedly, declaring her intent to destroy her. However, Granny Turbo warns that harming her will also harm Okarun, who is under her curse. Momo wakes up in her room thinking it was a bad dream, but finds Dodoria downstairs watching TV. When asked about Okarun, Dodoria reassures her that he's safe at the shrine but admits she didn't destroy the spirit. Momo discovers Okarun eating in the main hall and scolds him out of relief. Dodoria teases Momo, suspecting her concern stems from romantic feelings, which Momo denies, instead vowing to help Okarun lift the curse. Dodoria reveals that Granny Turbo is a powerful yokai tied to the tunnel where Okarun was cursed, making her nearly invincible within her territory. She advises Momo to avoid confronting her, but reluctantly provides a strategy to weaken the yokai, luring her out of her territory using a tag challenge. However, this requires speed and endurance, leading Dodoria to assign Okarun intense physical training and Momo to refine her psychic abilities. During training, Momo struggles to control the curse while Okarun faces physical limitations, such as needing breaks after high-speed runs. Dodoria advises Momo to rely on all her senses rather than just her sight to manipulate auras. Despite progress, Granny Turbo briefly escapes the curse, taunting Dodoria and threatening to spread a mass curse through Okarun if Momo doesn't return to the tunnel by nightfall. As night falls, Dodoria equips Momo and Okarun with protective vests against spirit. On the subway ride to the tunnel, Momo confidently removes her vest, insisting that style is key to power, leaving Okarun confused but determined to face the challenge ahead. At the tunnel's entrance, Momo and Okarun argue over who should go first, eventually deciding to walk side by side. Okarun reminds Momo of Dodoria's plan to lure Granny Turbo out of Shona City to weaken her. Momo, recalling their previous victory over the alien, confidently declares they can defeat Granny Turbo easily. However, her bravado vanishes when Granny Turbo appears, radiating an intimidating presence. Okarun urges Momo to release his curse for power, but Granny Turbo unexpectedly removes it herself, returning his amulet and stripping him of his abilities. Desperate, Momo taunts Granny Turbo, provoking her into a race challenge. Granny Turbo accepts but alters the rules, beginning the chase almost immediately. Okarun, powerless, bravely bites Granny Turbo, forcing her to return his curse. With his powers restored, Momo traps Granny Turbo inside Okarun's body temporarily, but the spirit summons a giant crab to attack them. The duo flees through narrow streets, ultimately reaching a hot spring, where Momo cooks the crab in the water to disable it. Just as they relax, Granny Turbo returns, rallying an army of the dead from a nearby cemetery to corner them. Momo and Okarun narrowly escape, using the crab as leverage to launch themselves out of the horde. As they near the city limits, Granny Turbo chases them onto a high-speed train. Momo uses her spiritual power to manipulate the train's speed, allowing them to cross into Shigo City territory, where Granny Turbo loses her power. Seko, waiting at the border, unleashes her full strength to banish Granny Turbo entirely. Afterward, Seko reveals the dark history of the tunnel, where spirits of unjustly killed girls had been exploited by Granny Turbo. She emphasizes the need to respect the dead, reminding Momo and Okarun of their responsibilities. Back home, they prepare a crab dinner, but Okarun loses his appetite due to the traumatic chase. Seko teases him relentlessly, joking about his amulet and chasing him around the house. Later, Okarun says goodbye to Momo, but she softens her tone, saying, "See you tomorrow," hinting at their growing bond and their school meeting the next day. The next day, Okarun nervously practices how to greet Momo. At the school gate, he spots her leaning against the wall and briefly thinks she's waiting for him, but dismisses it and tries to sneak by. Momo calls out to him, suggesting they walk to class together. Along the way, she chats casually about the aliens they encountered, piquing her curiosity about their lives. In class, Okarun endures teasing from classmates but feels content knowing he has Momo as a friend. Meanwhile, Momo seems unusually quiet, prompting her friends to speculate that something might be wrong, perhaps related to her ex-boyfriend. Both Okarun and Momo secretly want to talk to each other, Momo about aliens and Okarun about ghosts, but they keep missing each other all day. After a series of misunderstandings, they finally bump into each other in the hallway and accidentally kiss. Embarrassed and flustered, they argue and rashly declare they won't talk to each other again. Despite this, they both regret the argument, with Momo's friends teasing her about Okarun while he reflects on how much her friendship means to him. Later, Okarun tries to apologize, but unintentionally creates more awkwardness in front of Momo's friends, who joke about them being a couple. Feeling hurt, he assumes Momo is ashamed of him. As he leaves, a girl fakes interest in him to mock him. Overhearing her ridicule, Momo uses her telekinesis to drop a bucket on the girl's head and pulls Okarun away, insisting they leave together. On their way home, Momo apologizes, admitting she panicked over the rumors of their kiss. Okarun forgives her, glad they reconciled. However, when the topic shifts to Granny Turbo, Momo reveals they defeated her, but Okarun's balls are still missing. The revelation leads to playful teasing until they seek Seiko's help. During a ritual, Granny Turbo's spirit resurfaces, having secretly hidden inside Okarun all along. Now possessing a stuffed cat, she reveals she lost Okarun's balls and uses them as leverage to manipulate him, demanding he eliminate Momo and Seiko. Okarun, enraged, transforms without her influence, proving he still has supernatural powers. Seiko explains that while Granny Turbo's consciousness has shifted, her powers remain tied to Okarun. Momo attempts a peaceful resolution, proposing a trade, Granny Turbo's powers for Okarun's balls. Granny Turbo pretends to agree, but cheekily admits she doesn't remember where she left them. Okarun is left dismayed, realizing his bag is still empty, setting the stage for their next adventure to reclaim what's lost. The following day, Okarun and Momo embark on a chaotic search for Okarun's missing golden balls, which Turbo Granny reveals are imbued with powerful spiritual energy that attracts spirits and ghosts. These glowing spheres can awaken spiritual powers in humans, making them both a blessing and a dangerous target. Turbo Granny speculates that someone may have already taken the balls, heightening the urgency of their recovery. Despite their efforts, the search turns up empty. Momo consults Seiko, who warns that Turbo Granny's residual power in Okarun makes him volatile and a potential danger to himself and others. Meanwhile, at school, Okarun faces teasing about Momo. When classmates spread false rumors about her, Okarun snaps, accidentally transforming into his Turbo Granny form and intimidating the bullies into silence. Turbo Granny later appears from his bag, offering to reclaim her power if he allows her back into his body, but Okarun refuses until she returns his balls. Momo soon discovers that Era, a self-absorbed student seeking revenge after Momo's telekinetic prank, is behind the rumors. Era unknowingly holds one of Okarun's golden balls, which she believes is a divine artifact, destined to help her save the world. Her delusions deepen when she starts seeing a red-clad, ghostly woman no one else can see. Era lures Momo to an abandoned building, where she and her friends ambush and restrain her, attempting an exorcism. Momo uses her psychic powers to break free, realizing Era has one of Okarun's balls. Their confrontation is interrupted by the appearance of the red-clad woman, revealed to be the malevolent, acrobatic ghost Silky. Silky attacks Era, swallowing her whole. Okarun arrives and transforms, trying to rescue Era but struggling against Silky's agility. Momo intervenes, but is also swallowed. However, Momo uses a lighter disguised as a cross from Era's exorcism kit to ignite Silky's hair from the inside. The fire forces Silky to spit out Momo, Okarun, and Era. Meanwhile, Momo and Okarun regroup in a warehouse as Silky resumes her relentless attack. Okarun, in his Turbo Granny form, struggles to fight effectively in the cramped space. Momo devises a plan to entangle Silky's hair throughout the warehouse, giving Okarun a chance to deliver a powerful attack that launches Silky into the air. Despite this, Okarun doubts his ability to defeat her, admitting he's only good at running. Silky recovers quickly, targeting Momo, but Okarun intervenes, headbutting her and forcing her outside. Turbo Granny criticizes Okarun's weak attacks, even with her power, and reveals that Era's life is in danger. Her life force has been severely depleted, and she will die without immediate intervention. Momo and Okarun attempt CPR to save Era, but it fails. Turbo Granny suggests a desperate measure, transferring Silky's raw, spiritual energy to Era to revive her. Momo hesitantly agrees but warns Silky against betrayal. During the transfer, Silky's tragic past surfaces. She was a hard-working mother who sacrificed everything for her daughter, Debt collectors violently destroyed her life, taking her daughter and leaving Silky to die. Her spirit remained bound by maternal instincts, leading her to mistakenly protect Era as her own child. As the transfer succeeds, Era regains consciousness, but Silky begins to disintegrate. Apologizing for the harm she caused, Silky explains she lost control of her emotions and became a vengeful spirit. Turbo Granny clarifies that without her Raw, Silky's soul will fade completely, leaving no trace in the afterlife. Moved by Silky's suffering, Momo asks if anything can bring her peace. Turbo Granny leaves the choice to them, suggesting Silky's destruction might end her pain. Era embraces Silky, calling her mommy and thanking her for her protection, with Momo apologizing to Era for dropping a pot on her head. While Era accuses Momo of being a demon trying to take over the world, they argue, with Era vowing to defeat Momo one day. Later, Turbo Granny helps restore one of Okarun's golden balls, leaving him excited but still searching for the second one. At school, Okarun secretly trains behind the building to grow stronger for future battles. Era interrupts, awkwardly confessing her feelings and trying to kiss him. Their scuffle results in a compromising position that Momo sees, causing her to storm off, misunderstanding the situation. Suddenly, the school transforms into a flooded domain, controlled by the Serpo aliens. Okarun and Era face the aliens who seek to extract Okarun's powers. Despite transforming into Turbo Granny mode, Okarun is overpowered and restrained. Just as the aliens prepare to operate on him, strands of hair ensnare them, leaving a cliffhanger about who intervened. Upon realizing that Era also has powers, one of the aliens understands why she is able to enter their space, so they decide to take advantage of the situation to capture her banana as well. Meanwhile, Okarun decides to go away to put something on, since his clothes were completely destroyed in the last attack. Era, however, sets out to face the threats alone. While Okarun stays out of the fight, he starts looking around but can't find any clothes to put on, which sends him into a panic. Just then, Chiki hits Okarun with a direct blow, knocking him away. Era then goes back to fighting the aliens, but his head sinks into the ceiling. Era feels as if she's being crushed by something, and the alien reveals that he's able to use his powers even without having to talk about photogrammetry. He says he couldn't pass up the fact that she had let her guard down. Era replies that she doesn't care and asks him to let her go. Chiki, however, says that because she has such good moves, they'll capture her banana too. Upon hearing this, Era replies, "I'll be chosen divine and I won't lose to anyone." Chiki strikes Era again, destroying the wall behind her. Chiki then agrees that Era is indeed chosen, but not in the way she believes. He reveals that she was chosen for the evolution of the aliens. With that, they begin to plan the removal of her banana. Meanwhile, Okarun, still unclothed, decides that he needs to do something for his friend, because, for him, there are more important things than clothes. He transforms in front of everyone, preparing to fight, but soon the aliens start pressing him against the ground, undoing his transformation. One of the aliens explains that their power is possible thanks to the three of them combining psychokinesis. This power is called the Incredible Zone and is responsible for nullifying the transformation of any being within their area. Although useful against their enemies, this power has a flaw. They cannot attack Era or Okarun while they have this power active. However, they get around this weakness by placing another monster in the area and ordering it to beat Okarun to death. However, during the fight, Okarun manages to regain his strength and, with a sharp blow, sends the enemy away, making him cross the Incredible Zone. One of the aliens realizes that someone is repelling his psychic powers and discovers that it is Momo, who is not at all happy to see Okarun at Era's side. Okarun, for his part, tries to ease the tension by saying that he misses her, but Momo calls him a pervert, pointing out that he is still without clothes. Meanwhile, the aliens prepare for combat, waking up one of their own who is out of action. He is instructed to focus on the fight, and as soon as he gets up, he begins to deliver several blows to Okarun. He is ordered to kill them, but in the middle of the exchange of attacks, Momo intervenes, repelling the psychic powers again. However, one of the aliens still manages to move and starts advancing towards them. Okarun and Era then attack with their psychic powers, but the alien manages to hit Era with a hook, causing her head to sink into the ceiling. something similar to what it did to 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑. Era, with her head trapped, comments that she can't see the aliens' attacks, which makes the fight much more difficult. The monster tries to finish Era off with a surprise blow, but Okarun realizes its intention and manages to save Era in time. Momo, seeing this, is surprised. She didn't expect Okarun to be able to dodge the aliens' attacks. At that moment, Okarun and Era attack again, targeting the enemy's weak points. However, seeing how close they are, Momo feels a surge of jealousy and asks them to stop, warning that if they carry on like this, they will all explode together. The tension between the three increases, and Momo loses control of her magic. Era, irritated, reprimands Momo and reminds her that she is responsible for containing the alien's psychic powers and that she cannot be distracted. As they argue, the surrounding corridor begins to glow and a wave of green water floods the place, submerging everything. Momo manages to reach the surface, and as she touches the wall, she realizes that both the ceiling and the walls have been turned into water. She looks around, worried about what is happening. To complicate matters even more, Okarun recognizes the creature in front of him as Nessie, who starts sliding down the ceiling of the corridor in a threatening manner. The atmosphere becomes tense, and Momo, with her usual seriousness, suggests that the only option now is to run away. However, Era doesn't agree at all. She challenges Momo, questioning her right to lead the group, pointing out that no one elected her leader. For Era, the real leader is Okarun, and she makes that clear. Meanwhile, the aliens start arguing among themselves. Serpoians, who failed to control Momo, receives a serious punishment. He will have 60% of his salary cut off for his failure. This punishment, of course, is not well received, and Nessie, showing his power, decides to resolve the situation in a very direct way. With a precise blow, he breaks one of the aliens in half, causing the others to collide. When Okarun and Momo see what has happened, they waste no time. They start swimming at full speed, leaving Era behind, who is still trying to understand the situation. Suddenly, the sharp sound of a blow cutting through the water interrupts their escape, and a giant shrimp appears underwater, ready to attack anyone who gets close. Okarun, his heart pounding, explains that sea shrimps are even more powerful underwater. And, as if that wasn't enough, he comments that the shrimp's blow is 10 times stronger when it's submerged. The danger is real, and despite the shrimp's advantage, it also needs to come up for air, which creates an opportunity for Okarun and Momo. To try to escape more quickly, Okarun decides to use his turbo granny, his turbocharged legs, but soon realizes that this transformation doesn't work for swimming since he's sinking. Laughing at his situation, he goes back to swimming on his own legs, feeling the weight of the pressure. In the midst of this rush, Okarun feels frustrated. Although they need to save themselves, he knows they have to find a way to rescue Era, who has been underwater for longer. He asks Momo about her psychic powers, but she explains that she can only use them when she is close to the enemy. As the shrimp won't allow her to get close, Momo is left with no options. Okarun, determined, offers to get the shrimp's attention, giving Momo an opening to use her powers. Momo initially rejects the idea, fearing that Okarun will end up like Era, succumbing to the creature's attack. He insists, however, explaining that he just wants to be useful, and asks her to stop screaming. Momo, with her usual coldness, replies that his idea won't help. He would only be complicating things further, and the best option now is to get away as quickly as possible. As for Era, Momo doesn't miss an opportunity to accuse her. She claims that it's her fault for getting dirty with Okarun, but Okarun, uncomfortable, tries to defend the situation, making it clear that they've done nothing wrong. Momo, however, continues to berate them, recalling the incident in which Okarun knocked her to the ground and stood over her. Upon hearing Momo's words, Okarun quickly deduces that she is jealous and tries to apologize, saying that it was no big deal. Momo, trying to cover it up, tries to downplay the situation, saying that she doesn't mind what they do together, but Okarun doesn't seem convinced. He asks Momo to let him explain further because he doesn't care what other people think, but he doesn't want her to misinterpret things. Before the conversation can continue, however, the shrimp goes on the attack again, interrupting the discussion. It goes after the group again, and Momo, with a quick idea, jumps on Okarun, pressing her body against his to increase her escape speed. With this, they manage to lose the shrimp and save Era at the same time. When the situation calms down, Momo realizes that Era has swallowed a large amount of water and quickly uses her psychic powers to remove the water from her lungs, bringing her back to life. When Era wakes up, Momo instructs her to take off her clothes as the friction of the water is hindering her movements. However, Era refuses, saying that she will only undress when she is married. Era's attitude irritates Momo a little, but she tries not to be bothered by the situation. Meanwhile, the aliens, who are still searching for a solution, are beginning to realize that, despite their strength, everyone has a weakness that favors the enemy. One of the aliens, for example, attacks anything that moves in front of it, which makes its attacks inaccurate. The shrimp, on the other hand, always needs to return to the surface to breathe, which gives the heroes a chance to attack it. Seeing the lack of coordination between them, the alien leader suggests that they use a transmission cable to merge into a single being and attempt to increase their chances of success. Meanwhile, Momo finally manages to convince Era to take off her clothes, although Era says that Okarun will now have to take responsibility for seeing her like that. The two climb on Okarun, and the trio head towards the shrimp, which starts attacking them as soon as it sees them approaching. After an intense battle, they finally manage to escape from the imminent danger. Okarun, on the lookout, notices something crucial. The shrimp is using a device on its neck to store and fire water in its attacks. He deduces that if they manage to destroy this device, the shrimp's attacks will cease. With this in mind, they try to get closer to the enemy to put their plan into practice. When they get close, the shrimp, realizing their intention, says that they are still impressive in hand-to-hand combat underwater. Before they can act, the three of them are hurled away with devastating force, being thrown backwards by the intensity of the enemy's attacks. Suddenly, Momo is dragged away from her friends as the aliens identify her as the most dangerous enemy and decide to give her priority. Although they could just wait for Momo to drown, they choose to try to finish her off quickly. They argue among themselves about the best way to kill her until one of the aliens tries to attack her. However, Momo manages to defend herself easily, saying that he made a big mistake by merging with a shrimp, as his punches are only effective underwater, which is not the case on dry land. With this flaw, the alien, by throwing a punch with all his strength, ends up self-sabotaging. The punch, with all its concentrated energy, results in its own implosion, cooking its arms until they explode. However, the alien still remembers that, despite his weakness, he can breathe underwater, while Momo, out of the water, is at the mercy of death. At this point, Era, even underwater, uses her hair as an improvised weapon. She traps her enemy with it, creating a path between the strands, allowing Okarun to reach Momo. Okarun quickly rescues her and, with one swift movement, pierces the alien with a deadly blow, ending the threat. After everything calms down, Momo and Okarun wake up on top of each other in exactly the same position as they were in the other dimension. Okarun, upon touching the ground, realizes that it is solid again and, relieved, is sure that the nightmare is finally over. However, they are both visibly frightened and confused by what has just happened. Suddenly, the school returns to normal. When other students appear in the corridor and see Okarun and Momo on the floor in that compromising situation and with practically no clothes on, everyone starts jumping to conclusions. They begin to speculate that the little couple might be involved in some kind of snooze situation or something. Only then do the two realize the situation they're in and, embarrassed, quickly get up and start running. Era, who is also present, joins them, making the scene even more chaotic. All the other students watch, not really understanding what's going on, as the three of them flee the scene. Soon after, in the school nurse's office, the scene gets surreal. The nurse probes about bullying, but they deny it. She insists they can confide in her, showing zero tolerance for bullying. Their conversation is interrupted when a staff member barges in. Annoyed, the nurse scolds him for his lack of manners before whipping him. She excuses herself, leaving the students uneasy. Era feels off, and Momo's irritation grows as she vents about aliens tailing them. Okarun explains the aliens want the Turbo Granny's power, not Momo or her friends. When Momo asks why aliens don't just target Yakai, Okarun reasons that Yakai protect Earth, making humans an easier target. Aliens absorb human energy to evolve and destroy Yakai. Suddenly, Okarun panics, yelling about finding his ball. Momo, lost in his rambling, feels burdened as the savior. Their tension shifts when Era throws Momo under the bus, blaming her for stripping her earlier. When peers question Momo's involvement, Era comes clean, admitting to spreading false rumors. Though her popularity suffers, she chooses honesty. Meanwhile, 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑, a wounded foe, collapses at Momo's house. Grateful for their care, he reveals his tragic past to sick son and a desperate need for money. Okarun considers sacrificing his Bijolinjo to help, but Momo opposes. Instead, Seku cleverly deduces 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑 can use milk as a blood substitute. With help from a farmer, they gift him a cow. Before leaving, 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑 promises to remember their kindness. Back home, Momo teases her skeptical grandmother about aliens, but Seiko insists Tiki was a kappa. Later, Seiko begrudgingly agrees to buy Momo a new uniform after some bargaining. The story takes a turn when Momo answers the door and blushes at the sight of Gigi, her childhood friend and first love's sparking curiosity from Okarun. Seiko greets Gigi, mentioning his mother's notice of his visit. Okarun initially finds Gigi stylish and athletic, but his admiration fades as Gigi mocks Momo, leaving her infuriated. Seiko invites Gigi inside and reveals he'll be living with them, sparking Momo's protests. Gigi misinterprets her reaction as excitement and jokes about being her new demon. However, in rhetoric, Momo corrects Gigi on directing her demon / era. Suspicious, concocts theories of Momo assembling a team for Ragnarok and Stormdoth to prepare her counter-alliance. Okarun, tired of the chaos, leaves after an awkward goodbye with Momo. Back home, Momo confronts Seiko, learning Gigi's parents are hospitalized, which led him to stay with them. Gigi tries to charm Seiko with compliments, and Momo suspects he's manipulating her. Later, Gigi confesses he teased Momo in the past for believing in ghosts, but now sees them himself, linking his family's troubles to their haunted house. Seiko assigns the mission of exorcising the house to Momo, sweetening the deal with school uniforms. At school, Gigi causes a stir by joking he's living with Momo, frustrating her. Okarun, insecure about Gigi's presence, struggles with feelings of inadequacy. When a possessed anatomical doll appears, chaos ensues as Okarun, Momo, and Gigi chase it, uncovering its connection to a golden orb. They confront the doll and Momo extracts its heart to end the threat. However, a girl named Hannah arrives and the doll, Taro, confesses his love for her, mirroring Okarun's unresolved feelings for Momo. Returning home with the doll they found at the dump, the group pleads with Seiko to let it stay. Though Seiko initially refuses, Momo persuades her by pointing out they already care for many cats. They also discuss the doll's husband, Taro, who returned to his work as an anatomical model but plans to meet Hannah at night if she has a safe place to stay. After much persistence, Seiko finally agrees to house the doll. Seiko then shifts the focus to Okarun's ball, which turns out to be a Christmas ornament. Gigi praises Momo's battle skills and Okarun's transformation, noting how cool it was. During the conversation, Gigi removes lint from Momo's hair, prompting Okarun to recall Taro's devotion to Hannah and decide to cherish his moments with Momo. However, his declaration of affection turns into chaos when he and Gigi start teasing Momo, disrupting her table setting. Seiko steps in, ending the commotion. Seiko reminds Momo she'll stay at Gigi's house to exorcise ghosts, which shocks Okarun until Momo invites him along for safety. But both know Seiko still remembers, and by the names of the castle and of the limbs of the trees. Meanwhile, students playing with a Ouija board at school hear strange noises as Taro rushes to Hannah but gets hit by a truck. At dawn, Taro finally arrives, and Hannah forgives him. On the train to Gigi's house, Okarun feels sidelined as Momo and Gigi chat effortlessly. Momo teases Okarun about his ball, and Gigi, unaware of the context, joins in with silly jokes. Trying to impress Momo, Okarun talks about species like the Sachinoka, but Gigi steals the spotlight by sharing a legend about a giant serpent in his village. Okarun attempts to regain Momo's interest by mentioning a kappa mummy, only for Gigi to engage him instead, eventually asking to join Okarun's friendship circle. Caught off guard, Okarun awkwardly apologizes, admitting he's too clumsy and socially inept to have many friends. The group then arrives at a hot springs district, where Gigi explains his family lives nearby due to his father's volcano research. After climbing steep stairs, they reach Gigi's house. Momo notes she hasn't sensed any suspicious aura yet. After exploring, she relaxes on the couch, confusing Okarun when she turns on the TV, thinking it activated itself. Momo clarifies it's boredom, not ghosts. Okarun starts suspecting Gigi fabricated the ghost story to bring Momo over, but she assures him it's true, citing medium's confirmations. Still, Momo believes the ghosts are hiding and will show up at night. She decides to relax at the hot springs, leaving Okarun and Gigi to bond, assuring Okarun she'll return before anything happens. Meanwhile, at the springs, Momo finds herself cornered by older men, pointing to a mixed bathing sign and advancing on her. Back at the house, Gigi and Okarun notice a protrusion in the wall. Breaking it open, they uncover a room covered in talismans.